Good morning. My name is Dirk. Beth. I'm the Managing Director of Arivis. I'm also the Managing Director of Hyalescent Ventures. I'm on the board of AZBio. And this year I'm also chairing the White Hat Investor Conference, which is coming up in September. I hope you all take a moment to look that up. If you're a emerging biotech company or life sciences company or an investor, we'd love to have you at that conference. So I have a few minutes to tell you a story, and it just so happens to be a story of convergence. It's a convergence across continents, it's a convergence across time, and it's the story of our company. What I'm going to talk to today a little bit is a presentation that we gave at HIMSS. It's a very small excerpt of that, but a little bit of a backstory. Arivis is a company that I'm one of the founders of. We started here in Phoenix in 2005 with a very specific mission to help emerging biotech companies deal with the same regulatory and clinical processes that big pharma have to. So we created a software technology, and we've grown that significantly since then. Our mission really is to partner with our customers who all have the goal of bringing a new therapeutic to market. And so we agree with them and we collaborate with them to say that one regulatory approval can change the world, or it can significantly change the life of a patient. Along the way, we've grown our clinical, our quality, our QC is what we call it, technologies. But in 2011, we acquired a company in Germany, and that company was run or founded by the former CEO of a competitor of ours. And so we integrated that company, and we became one global company, yet a small company. And that CEO had also acquired another company at the time in the imaging space. And if we go back before the advent of iPods and iPads and iPhones, working a bunch of mathematicians in a lab in what was formerly East Germany, working alongside the same mathematicians who created the MP3 format, they created a technology to deal with very, very large images. And very, very large images weren't a problem at the time. They started a company with this technology, and the company kind of was scientists selling to scientists and wasn't going very, very well. So we actually integrated and acquired that company in 2013 because we did recognize that there was a huge problem with images growing. And so today, different modalities of imaging create very, very large image data set size. And I'm not going to talk too much about that part of our business, but we do have a product called Arivis Vision 4D. And we're working with customers such as Harvard, MIT, Berkeley, all of the major research universities across the world who are generating 8 terabyte, 10 terabyte image data sets. And David from Phoenix, that's probably going to give you a big heartache. But we're currently working with Harvard on 100 terabyte single image. So this is primarily neuro data. It's primarily images of the brain. And we're the only company who can actually currently open those types of images. Most of our competitors in the space are kind of falling flat at about 5 gigs of data. But we've partnered, and if you guys are in the life sciences, you probably are familiar with Zeiss microscopy. They have a new light sheet microscope that generates about a gig of data a second. So you can see that this type of image problem is going to continue. But the story goes that about a year ago, we decided, okay, this is really great. We can open and analyze these very large 4D, 5D, 6D images. We can do all sorts of manipulation of these images, but how do people really experience these images? And so we set upon this idea of going with a virtual reality approach. And what we thought was going to be kind of a neat trick, a neat gimmick, maybe a marketing idea. When we released it at Neuroscience in November, we realized that this was very different. We had two of our Oculus our Oculus systems at Neuroscience. It's a 4-day conference, and we had about 4 or 5 people deep waiting to try this out on these two systems for 4 days straight. So a couple hundred people got to experience it, and it's a software technology that we developed so that it's a platform, and we didn't know exactly how people would use it, but we had, probably 300 or 400 different ways that people would now approach this technology and how they would use it in their labs. So what we know is that, all biological data is 3D, and true morphometric analysis can only be done in 3D. So with that, we realized that there are different technologies to bring to bear here. So one of those is virtual reality. Virtual reality, and this is obviously in the press a lot right now, but it actually puts you in a different reality. You can take a headset, put it on, and be in a completely different place. And in our case, you can be at the nanometer scale right in the middle of a brain. And when you're talking about nanometer, we're talking about looking at the nucleus of cells. We're looking at axons and dendrites and so on. And so this lets you experience your data in a completely different way that you've never been able to do in the past. Now, there's another technology, and if you're following this space, you saw yesterday that Magic Leap actually showed what the $1.4 billion that they've had invested in them so far is actually going to do. But augmented reality is where you're actually putting on a headset and you're in the exact reality that you're in today, currently, but things are appearing in front of you in real time, like holograms. And this is a pretty interesting new technology where we think there's going to be a huge impact in healthcare. So over the years, we and others have made a great effort to visualize image data in 2 and 3D. But there's always been a problem with this since we're looking at this data in front of a 2D monitor, right? So it's like looking out a window and not really truly being able to experience this multidimensional data. So this is what we call the window effect. The entire object of interest remains outside of that window, and when you're really trying to observe it, you kind of bump into that window to try to get an experience of what it is. So virtual reality eliminates this window effect. Instead of looking through the window and observing the data, you're dropped right in the place of the data. We can freely move our heads around. We can experience it in a way that we've never been able to before, and it completely surrounds us. We're completely transformed into a new reality. Now, what most virtual reality systems are used for are gaming, and gaming uses a specific technology where everything that you're experiencing is made up of triangles or polygons. And what this is called surface technology. With our technology, we're looking at a very different type of data, right? We're looking at MRI, CT, microscopy. All of this is very large images, and it's what's called volume data. So we are rendering every voxel in the data set and presenting that to you. And that's enormously challenging, especially in the VR setting. So what we're doing is rendering 75 frames per second per eye. And if you're thinking about these 8 to 10 terabyte image data sets, that's an enormous technological challenge. So we can do the volume or the surface rendering, but I just wanted to give you an example of how you'd experience those two things separately. The surface is on the side. These are neurons. What you're looking at on your left side, those are surface models of a neuron. And on the right side is a volume data set. So you can actually see through the biology. You're able to see the structures in more detail. You can see the nucleus of the cell. And so this is the secret sauce. I should mention that when we presented this at Neuroscience in November, we finished filing our patent on Friday, and we presented the technology on Sunday. So it was an enormous challenge for us. So it's that one playing. Okay, so this is what we call the Neuro Forest, What I would invite everyone to do is we actually have one of our Oculus systems here today. It's right outside the entrance here. You can put on the headset and experience this technology for yourselves. And if you haven't had a virtual reality headset on before, it truly is a unique experience. If you get seasick, maybe you might not want to try it, but so where we think we can take this, currently like I said, we're primarily in the R&D space. We work with big pharma on R&D with our imaging technology. We work in all of the major research universities. But where this technology can go is we can actually present real cases to practicing physicians with a specific case that they need to look at from a surgical planning perspective. Our technology, you can clip, you can segment, you can look at a number of different structures and eliminate structures so you can get a better idea of what's happening there. So surgery planning is a real area of interest for us in the virtual reality space. I'll just let this movie run through a little bit. This is obviously a CT data set of a living patient. Obviously had some significant injuries. Surgery assistance, patient education, and physician learning is another huge area of interest for us, where we will bring our technology into the healthcare space. And again, I'll let this video run through a little bit so you can understand the types of data that we're dealing with. And actually, we have a CT data set if you want to experience that as well with us today. So what we think we can do is give the physician a much better experience while working in an operating theater. Typically, a patient or a physician will look at imagery separately from the patient. They'll move to the patient and try to remember what they saw. Where we really know we're going to innovate is with our augmented reality technology. So Microsoft is releasing their HoloLens, which is an augmented reality technology. We're working with Microsoft. In fact, this presentation was done in conjunction with Microsoft. But with our technology, we can actually overlay this CT, MRI, or other modality data directly on the patient, register it. There are different navigational elements where they could blow up the image data set to look at the physiology while they're working on the patient. So this is, as you can imagine, going to revolutionize the way that doctors work in these theaters. So again, the benefit is that you can actually see the patient with this data overlaid over them. That's kind of the overall summary of this slide. Surgery assistance, kind of covered most of this, just jump through it quickly. And again, medical education. There's an enormous effort being put and spent on educating doctors. A lot of the data is pretty static when educating doctors. If you can present real new cases to doctors as they come in using this technology, there's just going to be an enormous benefit to the overall community. That's really all I had to share today with you. What we're really going to benefit from is experiencing the technology. Seeing it is one thing. So I, again, offer that to everybody. I would also like to tell you that this is the end of the morning session. If you could join us all in the exhibit hall while they make this room ready for lunch, we'd very much appreciate it. Thank you very much.